Jonah Hill has recently been hailed as the king of style on social media, praising his newfound fashionable aesthetic, but what a lot of people may not know is that Jonah has always been interested in fashion and style, but he's just never acted on it because of societal pressures he said has prevented him from acting and pursuing high fashion. In an interview with GQ, the actor dove into his tumultuous relationship with the fashion industry and how his career and weight influenced his style. He voiced how both being overweight and a comedian conditioned his clothing choices because of a few factors. One factor being the fact that a lot of the clothes and styles that appealed to Jonah were not available to him because of his size, and another being the pressure from the comedy industry to not be fashionable. Before I continue on with the video, I just want to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video. It really helps out when you do. So Jonah has spoken out saying that this idea that he's only recently become so fashion forward isn't exactly true. He's always been conscious of style, trends, and fashion, but hasn't always had the resources to act on his interests. There are so many companies, designers, and labels that limit the size range of some of the most fashionable and eye-catching pieces, so in the past, Jonah has not been able to participate in the fashion world because these pieces were not designed for his body type. This forced him to dress a certain way because he was confined by what the fashion industry had made available to him. It seems unfair for a single industry to limit the creative freedom of their consumers solely based on the size and body type. But as I said, this isn't the only reason he limited his style. Jonah has said that his career being in comedy has also affected his fashion, as there seemed to be a sort of idea that fashion and comedy don't mix. I guess is an unwritten rule, I don't know about it. In the interview, Jonah said, quote, "When I was coming up in comedy, you would get made fun of if you cared about fashion. I always did." Now that Jonah has lost some weight and seems to carry himself more confidently than in the past, people seem to be noticing him for being himself now more than being the quote, schlubby guy from Superbad, and he's been praised for his confidence and personality even though nothing's really changed with him. As the industry seems to further accept him, he appears to divulge more information about him, his interests, and his struggles because people seem to want to listen now more than they have in the past. The actor has recently launched a clothing collaboration with Adidas and is now saying that he's embracing who he is regardless of his size and society's perception of him. I really applaud that because it's about time that he gets his time to shine for being himself rather than being the industry's fat funny guy as he's been referred to in interviews in the past. Jonah is now getting into directing and writing and is stepping away from more strictly comedy-based content and is evolving his career, so he's still going places and finding success. Now here's to hoping that him speaking out about the fashion industry and body shaming that he's faced will lead to more change in the industry, as well as inspire others to embrace their senses of style and interest in fashion regardless of what they look like or what their body types are, just like how Jonah is doing for himself. Remember, you don't have to change to fit the status quo, let the status quo change to fit you.
Now, if you were an actor, what would you do if your co-star refused to kiss you? That's what happened between Jonah Hill and Lauren London in their new movie. That's right, the two actors allegedly did not seal their movie marriage with a kiss in Netflix's movie You People, so they had to make it happen with CGI. How do we know this? Well, their fellow co-star Andrew Schultz opened up about the moment on a podcast with Charlemagne the God. At first he was nervous and said, "I don't even know if I should share this yet." Then he said, "But in the final scene they don't even kiss. It's CGI." The host responds by saying, "Get the F out of here." The two of them start talking about his experience filming the new Jonah Hill comedy, and Andrew lets it slip that there was a real issue when it came to the kissing scene. He said, "I'm watching the wedding and I see them going for the kiss and their faces stopped like this far. And I'm like, I wonder how they're gonna play that in the movie. Oh, they're probably just gonna cut right there. But in the movie, you can see their faces come close and then you can see their faces morphed a little bit." Sure enough, fans took to Twitter to talk about it, and someone posted a close-up shot of the actors' faces, which actually shows a dark shadow forming on Lauren's lower chin that appears to be computer generated. So the romantic kiss at the end of the movie was actually fake. From that moment on, everyone was throwing in their opinion about why the two leads did not actually touch. Lauren London's fans claimed that she did not want to kiss Jonah Hill out of respect for her partner Nipsey Hussle, who was March of 2019 in an incident involving firearms. And this is likely the case because the movie does honor him in a lot of discreet ways, like using his music throughout the film and a shot of the street where his clothing store is located. One fan tweeted, "Everyone wants to hate on Lauren London for not kissing Jonah Hill, but when you find the one and they're gone, you'd never want to kiss someone else again." Another person wrote, "Lauren London didn't want to kiss Jonah Hill in You People, and I don't blame her. Nipsey Hussle's beard looks softer compared to Jonah's." But for all the people coming to her defense, there were also those who questioned why she would even accept the role as Jonah's love interest if she wasn't interested in staying true to the script. Someone tweeted, "All due respect to Lauren London, but if she signed up for a rom-com refusing to kiss her co-star, maybe you need a different actress or actor." And like literally, what was the point of Lauren London accepting a role in a rom-com but refusing to kiss your castmate? CGI kissing is crazy. In response to the Nipsey Hussle theory, someone pointed to another movie that Lauren did, which was filmed 5 months after his death. The 2021 film is called Without Remorse, and sure enough, one scene in the film shows her kissing Michael B. Jordan. So of course, some people jumped to the conclusion that she simply did not want to follow the script with Jonah Hill because she wasn't attracted to him. It doesn't really help that Lauren herself has admitted that she worried that they wouldn't make a believable couple. In an interview with Harper's Bazaar, she said that she was initially reluctant to play the role because she worried about whether Ezra and Amira's bond would feel genuine. She said, "I thought, why would these two people really like each other? We have to showcase a real connection. They're from two totally different worlds, and if you see them, you would never think that they would meet or hang out, whatever the case is." Her concerns are understandable, but that's actually the premise of the entire movie. It's about an unlikely romance between an interracial and interfaith couple, dealing with their family's complicated reactions to their relationship. The film was initially promising, as fans were really excited to see Jonah in a rom-com, and it's not often that he gets to play a romantic lead. It stars plenty of Hollywood heavyweights like Eddie Murphy, Nia Long, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but unfortunately, it was met with quite a bit of criticism upon its release, and it didn't really seem to live up to the hype. A lot of viewers have said that the movie tries to be too political, and that ends up sacrificing the humor. And of course, to everyone's disappointment, you can't deny that there is a real lack of chemistry between the two romantic leads, to the point where it's actually not that surprising that their kiss had to be done with CGI. First off, Maddie Healy just landed himself in hot water for some messed up comments he made about Harry Styles and the gay community. The 1975 singer caused a firestorm on Twitter after he went on the Adam Friedland Show podcast and addressed the discourse surrounding queerbaiting, which is something that's often used in TV and films that try to appeal to an LGBTQ audience by lightly suggesting that a character is gay but never actually confirming it. In the interview, Maddie said, "Did you see that Pink's getting cancelled for looking like a lesbian for her career, and now that's being regarded as queerbaiting? Loads of 18-year-olds are being like, she's done irreparable damage to the lesbian community." The host then asks him, "Well, why do they let Harry Styles get away with that?" And in response, Maddie says, "He gets a pass, I don't know. I actually don't think the gays really like it. It's young girls that think it's a new thing that are like, oh my god." Adam and his co-host Nick Mullen then made a ton of homophobic remarks, and it was unbelievable. At one point, they suggest that gay men don't care when a straight man pretends to be gay because they get off to it. Shockingly, they also said that Harry had got the N-word pass from the gay community. And what did Maddie say to all of this? Well, he just half-heartedly attempted to push back and said, maybe it's not all gay guys, but a lot of them. And just like that, the conversation moved on. He didn't really say anything in opposition to the two other hosts. In fact, his non-response really said it all. Later on in the interview, the three men joked about a woman's menstruation cycle and made impressions of Chinese accents. It was nothing short of a disaster. Clips of the podcast have since gone viral, and the comments have caused an uproar online. Even fans of the 1975 said they were disappointed by the entire conversation and Maddie's involvement. One user tweeted, "Maddie Healy, how are you getting on stage every night and mocking toxic masculinity, and then going on a podcast and undoing the whole thing by being wildly ignorant, misogynistic, homophobic, racist, and everything else under the sun? Disgraceful behavior, actually." Another person wrote, "Maddie Healy, practice what you preach challenge. Maybe don't do performance art commenting on toxic masculinity if you're only going to turn around and feed right into it." And the sooner you all realize you can save your breath when it comes to Maddie Healy, because he literally has always been like this, and literally always will be. Many fans also accuse the singer of hypocrisy, considering the fact that he claims to be 100% straight and says that he's not sexually attracted to men, but he still kisses male fans at his concerts. When asked about it, he just said, "Men can be objectively beautiful, but he doesn't want to F them." So that's very nice. Let's not forget that in 2019, he made out with a male fan on the stage at a concert in Dubai, where homosexuality is illegal and punishable by up to 10 years in prison. Speaking about that moment, Maddie said that he was threatened with arrest for the act, but he was able to jet off to Japan to continue his world tour. Although he was able to get away unscathed, he was criticized online for endangering the fan that he kissed, not really caring about what ended up happening to them. He later admitted that he felt pretty irresponsible at first, but then he said F that and wanted to be an ally for people who don't have a voice. As for Harry Styles, these accusations of queerbaiting are nothing new. He hasn't labeled his sexuality or gender identity, even though he has only ever publicly been in relationships with women. When he graced the cover of Vogue in 2020 wearing a dress, Billy Porter spoke out against him. In an interview with the Sunday Times, the actor slammed Harry's gender expression as performative. He said, "He doesn't care. He's just doing it because it's the thing to do. This is politics for me. This is my life. I had to fight my entire life to get to the place where I could wear a dress to the Oscars. All he has to do is be white and straight." Harry responded to the criticism in his own interview. He said, "Sometimes people say you've only been with women, and I don't think I've publicly been with anyone. If someone takes a picture of you with someone, it doesn't mean you're choosing to have a public relationship." He went on to say, "Am I sprinkling in nuggets of sexual ambiguity to try and be more interesting? No. In terms of how I want to dress and what the album sleeves are gonna be, I tend to make decisions in terms of collaborators I want to work with. I want things to look a certain way, not because it makes me look gay or it makes me look straight or it makes me look bisexual, but because I think it looks cool." And maybe that's all the reason that he needs. And now here's some of the craziest news ever. Is it possible that Adidas regrets cutting ties with Kanye West? Because apparently they're on the verge of bankruptcy. The company released a statement yesterday admitting that they're expected to lose $1.3 billion in revenue this year because they're unable to sell Kanye's Yeezy clothing and shoes. In a statement, Adidas said its financial guidance for 2023 accounts for the significant adverse impact from not selling the existing stock. So if they can't repurpose any of the remaining Yeezy clothing, they said that could cost them $534 million in operating profit this year. Shortly after they cut ties with the rapper, the company said they would try to sell the clothing and just strip it of the Yeezy name and branding. They said selling the sneakers under their own branding would save them about $300 million in royalty payments and marketing fees. But this turned out to be a major fail. The CEO released a statement saying, "The numbers speak for themselves. We're currently not performing the way we should. We need to put the pieces back together again. But I am convinced that over time, we will make Adidas shine again." So at the moment, the company is scrambling to work out what they're going to do with all that inventory. But they've also suffered financially from their partnership with Beyonce's activewear brand Ivy Park. Since early 2020, the Ivy Park and Adidas line has launched at least a dozen footwear, apparel, and accessories that they've tried to promote to Beyonce's fan base. But clearly that didn't work either, because revenue from the line fell more than 50% last year. What's really crazy is that Adidas projected that the Ivy Park business would bring in $250 million in 2022, but it only brought in $40 million in sales. So it's entirely possible that cutting ties with Kanye is going to lead them down a path of financial ruin, even though they really had no choice in the matter. The German sports brand says that it does not tolerate anti-Semitism and called the rapper's remarks unacceptable, hateful, and dangerous. At the time, Adidas said that ending their partnership with him would mean taking a short-term hit of around $240 million, but now we know it's going to be so much more than that. They ended production of items under the Yeezy brand and stopped all payments to Kanye. It was probably a difficult call to make for them, considering that in 2020, the partnership brought in nearly $1.7 billion in revenue. At the time, pressure to cut ties with him was really mounting against them, as several other brands had already dropped him. At one point, there was even a boycott Adidas hashtag trending on social media, simply because they took so long to respond to the scandal. It certainly didn't help when Kanye went on Drink Champs podcast and said, "I can literally say anti-Semitic things, and Adidas can't drop me. Now what?" So in the end, it wasn't a huge surprise that the brand let him go, because after that, his comments only got worse. By the time Kanye professed his admiration for a certain German leader, there wasn't a company that was willing to work with him. While Adidas might have made the only sensible decision, they probably didn't realize that they would be facing bankruptcy as a result.